So welcome, everybody. My name is Dr. Sharmarke Mohamed, Associate Professor of Chemistry. I'm delighted today to be having a conversation with Dr. Diana Francis, who's Assistant Professor in the Earth Sciences Department at Khalifa University. And today we're literally delving into, secrets that are hidden beneath our feet. We'll be looking at using AI, remote sensing to understand what's happening in the deserts of the UAE and to hopefully discover some lost archaeological sites and preserve our environments. Dr. Diana Francis has over 10 years of experience as an environmental scientist. She has been looking not just at the skies, but looking at what's beneath the sands. And it's a very relevant topic given the importance of AI and machine learning in today's society. So with that, welcome.
Thank you.
So before we delve in to the technical details, maybe you can just begin by giving us some background in terms of your training and what got you interested into this field.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm really delighted to be in this podcast, and I hope it will be of interest for everyone. My background is in atmospheric science and climate science. I have PhD in Sorbonne University, Paris, and after that, I worked in many institutions in Europe mainly before moving to the UAE in 2016 and joining Khalifa University in 2020 as the head of the Environmental and Geophysical Sciences Lab in GEOS. And then I joined the Earth Science Department in 2022 as assistant professor. My interest is really to unlock the secrets of our environment, whether it is the atmosphere or the sand, the soil. It's very relevant to our life because we need to understand what's around us. These are critical elements for life, so it's interesting to explore them.
Excellent, good. So maybe we can kind of like start by decoupling the technical tools that you're using. So if we think about, first of all, the desert, it's a vast area to cover. It's not possible to do that, by humans. So tell us what tools you're using to kind of map what's going on in the desert and to understand what's beneath the sands.
Yeah. So the main tool we use to overcome this actually challenge, meaning accessing very harsh environment places and remote places, is Earth observations. And this is since the beginning of the era of Earth observations, it was really a game changer for gaining knowledge on places that are really very difficult to access to humans. So desert is a great example of this. So we use satellite observations to actually, let's say, map and see what are the features that are still hidden for us in those areas.
Excellent, excellent. So if we think about like the desert, we typically think of like uninhabited, let's say, areas. But what you're discovering in your research is that actually doing this kind of work will help the UAE preserve its heritage and its culture. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, definitely. So basically, it's very true what you are saying, meaning if we look by our eyes to the desert, we will see really desert. No one can live there or live there. However, the technique that we are using allow us to see what's present under the sand. So that's why we can actually discover what happened in the past in those areas before they become desert like we know them now, and we can see them now in our eyes. So the Earth observation that we use allow us to see up to 2 meters depth below the sand layer. And this is basically the novelty of our approach, and that was not done by anyone else in the world.
Excellent, excellent. So what sort of like interesting finds have you made in this research the past few years?
Very interesting findings and not expected, let's say, meaning finding, let's say, sort of tombs, Umunar tombs, for example, or remains of buildings and the structures below the sand was really very new findings for us and not expected. So we surveyed several areas in the UAE up to now. Some are in Al Ain area or also in Al Kaywan Emirate, As-Siniya Island. And we really found very interesting features that are still buried for now, and hopefully they are going to be excavated, and we will really see what they look like in real. I should note also that our method is really uninvasive, meaning that we don't damage any of the sites. It's the opposite. We deliver, for instance, information about the shape, about the location, the depth of these remains. Yeah. So later on, when excavation will take place, the teams can have idea what they are expecting, and so they don't damage when they are digging to, unearth the remains.
Interesting. So if we think about sort of the data that you're getting in order to identify these archaeological sites, I imagine that you have to get some some imagery from satellites, then you have to kind of process them using computers. What sort of computing power do you need to process the data and to come to conclusions, and how long does that take? Can you tell us more about the data analysis side?
Yeah, the process is still a bit long. First, because these satellite observations are not available anytime. We need really to task the satellite toward our area of interest first, and once the satellite is tasked, then it will take image for the area that we are interested in and send it to us. From this date, when we receive the imagery, we need to first, do the cleaning of the data, the processing of any satellite imagery. But then we apply also machine learning to our imagery. Why? Because in general, they cover really very vast areas. So we need from the machine learning algorithm to guide us toward the potential area to analyze further and investigate more.
Sure.
So yeah, this is a process that takes time and also requires computing resources. But thanks to Khalifa University computing resources, we are able to do it relatively a short time. Excellent. Around 1 to 2 months.
Yeah. Because of course, machine learning, one of the applications is imagery, right? And sort of image recognition. So I imagine the work that you're doing is essentially to train the model to understand images where you may have some archaeological features buried in the sand, and then you let it go and apply it to new areas. Yeah. What is the kind of accuracy rate with that kind of model? I mean, if you apply it to vast desert, yeah, how reliable is it in giving you important insights?
This was an important task that we wanted to really achieve, which is the validation of the model and of our method in analyzing the imagery and all the process. That's why we designed validation, let's say, campaigns, meaning that once we identified areas from satellite imagery and machine learning, we actually went to the ground with instruments, equipment that are a mimic for the satellite, so ground penetrating radar from the ground. And we surveyed what the satellite pointed to us. And we validated actually the findings from satellite. So
check the model.
Exactly, we check the model and check the process.
Yeah.
And this will give us actually confidence in what we are building and developing. And whenever there is uncertainty, it also helps us to improve the model, because we can actually feed it back into the machine learning and improve it as we go.
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, all machine learning is kind of iterative, because you train it, you apply it, and then you learn something, and then you feed it back. And Definitely. That's how it gets better, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, so I think there's a lot of potential for this kind of work, and I'm just wondering, like, could you apply it to? I mean, you mentioned 2 meters, right? The imagery cannot give you depth beyond that. Could you apply it for areas like, let's say, that are not necessarily desert, and try to understand what's beneath that? So to help with, other important insights, maybe in forests or things like that, to try to understand what's happening there without sending humans there or expensive.
Yeah. No, unfortunately, our technology only works in arid environments. So basically, desert areas with dry soil. Why? Because the signal of the satellite will be attenuated wherever there is water or vegetation, at least this satellite. Still, the potential for applying it for other areas in the UAE is great because the desert covers large area in our planet,
Sure.
and many of them still unexplored. So the potential for this technology to be applied, widely is great. For areas with forest, of course, other methodology exists. Particularly the LiDAR, for example, it works in those areas, but not in the desert. So we are complementary to the work that is being done elsewhere.
Excellent. And I know that kind of like you have an interest in environmental science in general. How is the changing climate affecting work like the work that you're doing? Because I imagine that, like, whatever you train the machine learning model on, if there's a lot of, like, let's say, cloud cover or sand that's shifting or things like that, changing environments, is going to affect the accuracy of the model. So how's climate change kind of impacting the work that you're doing with these kind of models and remote sensing?
It's a very important question and aspect to account for, especially after the extreme weather events that we've been observing in the UAE, particularly for instance, the flooding, that actually changed a lot of the areas that we surveyed before. So if we compare satellite imagery before and after this event, a lot of changes in the land, land morphology, let's say, and in some areas, for instance, fallage systems appeared because the soil was eroded by the water flooding in those areas. So climate actually is very an important factor for this. And whenever we take area to survey and to study, we also survey the climate that this area went through, because the moment when we take the satellite image is important to understand what is happening around this period. So to be, in the context and understand also the changes. This is important to know. In addition to the sand movement, movement, of course, it will take longer time periods to impact these sites, and that's why we're interested in technology that can penetrate, because basically these structures, they were here and then they got buried over time by the sand. So this is an important element in our study.
Interesting. And what sort of, like, in your particular lab, what sort of group sizes are involved in this kind of work? Because I imagine you also have different skill sets, because you have people looking at satellite imagery, remote sensing data, and then you've got people doing the machine learning, training, testing. So how many people does it take to do this work?
For this particular project, 4 people they are working on this particular project with different, of course, skills, from machine learning to satellite observations analysis, advanced analysis. And the survey on the ground is what takes actually the most of the time. Because we need to coordinate with the local authorities, we need to plan the surveys, and we need to make them during the winter or fall, because during summer it's very hot to survey large areas, in the heat. The surveys from the ground are the part that takes most of the time, and also we need specialized people for the ground penetrating radar and the other equipment that we use for the surveys.
Excellent. Excellent. Uh, what sort of like sort of collaborations do you see sort of growing from this work that you're doing in this lab, and uh, how is the UAE now kind of positioning its research focus when it comes to environmental science? Can you tell us more about that? How important is this kind of work in the region, let's say?
Definitely. I think the UAE is now, we can say with confidence, that is leading in this area. And we actually have a lot of requests from neighbors countries to apply this technology to their environment, to their sites, to their deserts. So a few collaborations will come to light in the coming months. In again in arid areas, and so we'll be building, collaborations with countries to apply this method and help them discover what is hidden in their deserts.
Interesting. What sort of like challenges do you see in this research moving forward? What are the main sort of obstacles to getting data, let's say?
Yeah. It's true that there are few challenges. First of all is the availability of data, because sometimes we need to wait for, let's say, a few weeks or even a few months to be able to get the satellite imagery. So one way to overcome this is actually developing this technology, even in the UAE, developing satellites that can see in these bands. That can penetrate, even if it is costly at the beginning, but it's a long-term investment. So this is one area that can be explored by, people interested in the space sector, let's say. The other challenge is actually if we get requests for very vast areas and many places at the same time, we need to ramp up our capacity in terms of computing, but also manpower.
Yes. I think, KU has very good like HPC computing infrastructure, because I use it also for my research. So I think, yeah, we're well placed on that. So I'm just thinking, like, do you foresee like the sort of people with chemistry backgrounds, environmental science, machine learning, working in this kind of field? Do you have a specific skill set? Because it sounds like you're looking at a number of different techniques, and it's not kind of disciplines. It's not a narrow discipline of skills you're looking for. So what can you tell us in terms of like your particular lab, the kind of students you're looking for, what backgrounds, if people want to do this kind of research, they need to have to go into it?
Yeah, this is a very important aspect. We are very interdisciplinary actually in this project and in general in the team. So we are looking for especially students, PhD or master students with background in physics, in geophysics, let's say also math can help as well for the machine learning part. Chemistry, if we want to go into the composition of the soils and of the structure that we find. And this is, I know it's very important topic for, let's say, the Department of Culture and Tourism, for instance. So how to identify the age of the layers that we are seeing. So this also goes into chemistry a little bit. So yeah, it's interdisciplinary, and we are happy always to train, youth and the students to this domain, because they will have to take the lead in a few years in this area.
Good, yeah. So if students are listening, they know who to contact. So coming back again to the kind of like technical things that you are doing, do you see that sort of data sharing between different countries is going to be an important part of kind of making this research more accurate and spread? Because I imagine the satellite imagery that you're using covers a certain area of the planet. So having good sort of international collaborations between different labs and institutes, how important is that in terms of getting better data, more data, and improving the accuracy of the models?
Yeah, this is very important aspect, and unfortunately, we still, face this challenge of data sharing in general in the region, and there is always, this kind of tension or not willingness to open the data to everyone. However, until now we managed to get into agreements and find the right balance between the benefits and the data sharing if these countries are willing to share. But of course, we would benefit from more openness for regarding data that will benefit the science and society at the end.
Nice. And do you think like I come from a field where like we use computer models to predict crystal structures. And if you look at like the history of like this field, it all started to kind of take off in 1999 when we started organizing these what we call blind tests, which are like competitions between different labs and to see which kind of model can do a better job. Do you see that having sort of like collaboration in a competitive environment between different labs in terms of training these models and then testing them would be a way to go forward in terms of improving the accuracy of the models?
I think it's a great idea, actually, yes. Because even we know from ourselves, whenever there is competition, you put, the greatest effort, the best of yourself in the competition to achieve. Of course, this is specific to humans. So yeah, this will motivate actually many to get involved and see what they can achieve. However, given that the data is not really open, I think it's maybe premature to organize this kind of things because at the end we need to give data to people to work on them in the competitions.
Yeah, interesting. Good. I mean, I think one of the things that comes to mind is also the strength in KU when it comes to environmental science, because you've got the earth sciences department, you've got the civil engineering department, and you've got other people like myself doing sort of materials chemistry related to environmental research. What sort of internal collaborations between KU would you like to see to strengthen the work that you're doing and to maybe bring in some new skill sets to help you do your research better? Maybe in terms of analytical tools with this field work that you're doing, or maybe on the computing side? Because I imagine this touches, like you said, a lot of different areas. So can you tell us more about that? How you can see this kind of internally growing?
I should actually acknowledge all the support that we are getting from different entities at KU to do this project and deliver in a timely manner. For now, we have already collaborations with relevant people to the project, especially from the Earth Science Department, geophysicists. They help us with the field surveys, for instance, whenever we have to do. But of course, I think if I present this project to other departments, they will find some common areas of interest, and they can build on it and develop it further. So this is something to think about.
I'm interested in your machine learning model. Maybe it will help me analyze surfaces of films and things that we make. So we should discuss that.
Yeah.
So thinking about collaborations outside KU, what can you tell us about existing collaborations or potential collaborations that you may have in this research with labs outside KU?
Yeah, we rely a lot on collaborations because at the end we are developing a tool and a product to be used by end users. So for now we have in the UAE strong collaborations with, for instance, Dubai Culture. We worked with them on Saruq al Hadid site to find more areas that are not excavated for now. We collaborate a lot with also the Department of Culture and Tourism in Abu Dhabi for the areas in Al Ain and Abu Dhabi as well. Basically, our idea is to really help them to be more efficient in their, search for archaeological remains, because this method will save them time and resources if they know where to go, from where to start. Now, outside the UAE, we are also building collaboration with Jordan and Egypt for now. We are hoping for more countries to be interested in this research and applications.
Good. And in terms of like what's next for this research, can you tell us a little bit about what the future holds, where you see things going?
Yeah, the idea is really to, ideally for me, I would like to cover all the UAE in this research, meaning even the islands and the areas that we know that there were civilizations in those areas historically. After the UAE, I would like to see it expanding to all desert regions, and also make it more efficient, let's say, more streamlined as process. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much.
Thank
It's
you.
been my pleasure talking to you about this.
Same here. Thanks.
So, if you enjoyed that podcast with Dr. Diana, please subscribe to KU Pulse, the podcast. You can go to ku.ac.ae/KU Pulse, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode.